So we're saying, as it said, La'olam Hashem Dorcha, and the Baal Shem Tov explained that it means that Hashem is constantly saying the Asam Maris, and through these Asam Maris, then Hashem is recreating the world every moment. And Perek Beis started explaining why we have to, why Hashem has to be, why our peace Hashem has to be recreating the world every moment. Perek Sheni of Shaar HaYichud, yeah. And page Ayin Fes. So before we continue, I just want to say one thing.
Yeah.
That everything in Torah we know is true. Why did Al Rebbe have to explain why Al Seichel, why it makes sense to us that there's Bria Yeshmeyah, that Hashem has to be recreating it at every moment? I think Torah says whatever we say in Torah is true, so why do we need to explain it? So it's like this: the way we're going to explain Achdas Hashem means that there's nothing else besides Hashem. That's what we're explaining Achdas Hashem. So if you're going to say it makes sense in theory, but it doesn't, we can't understand it. That the Torah says it, but we can't understand, then it means that it's not true in our Sefer. And if we can't understand it and it's not true in our Sefer, then how can we say Hashem's true everywhere? Because it's not true in our mind. So it must be that it has to make sense in Sefer also, that we can understand it. So that's the first thing. Then we started Perek Beis. And we brought about the minim. So what do the minim say? The minim say that Hashem created the world. It's true. They agree that Hashem created the world. But what happened after Hashem created the world? Hashem left the world.
The natural
order of things. Yeah, a person makes a plea. We said, any person makes a vessel that after he makes it, he can stop and the thing still exists. That's what they said. The same thing Hashem created the world, and after he finished creating it, then Hashem left the world. And
Teva took over.
Teva took over, exactly. And that's why they don't believe in any miracles. Because miracles you only believe in miracles if you say Hashem's still involved in the world. Mm-hmm. And we also said that they don't believe in Hashgacha Pratit. Like the famous story of Baal Shem Tov, that he was telling the students about Hashgacha Pratis, and they saw that a leaf flew up, and they followed the leaf, and they saw that it landed exactly where a little worm came and ate it. So that's the story of Hashgacha Pratis. So they didn't believe in Hashgacha Pratis, but they said that no, Hashem created the world once, and then he left it. And then the Alter Rebbe starts explaining that what was their mistake. The mistake was because they thought there's a difference between Yesh Me'ayin and Yesh Me'yesh. That a kli, we said, is Yesh Me'yesh. It already exists and you're just changing the form. And we said even that whatever you have, it already exists, but not only that, the fact that you can make it into whatever you're going to make it into, let's say silver, you already have silver, even if it's a cup and you're changing it into something else. So we spoke last week, like a 3D printer or something, you have plastic and you're going to make it in another shape. That really exists. It's not in actuality, but it still has the potential that it can still turn into that shape. So that's Yesh Me'yesh. But they didn't realize that when Hashem created the world, how did Hashem create the world?
With the 10 Mammon.
With that, yeah, but what was before there was a world? There was nothing.
Yeah.
So Hashem created the world in Yesh Me'ayin. There was nothing, and then Hashem created the world. So when a person creates Yesh Me'ayin, Hashem has to. Well, the only person that can create Yesh Me'ayin is Hashem. So when Hashem is creating Yesh Me'ayin, then it has to be constant, not like a person that's creating something that already exists. So that was the first part. But then we brought a proof for this. How do we see this? And we said we see it from Kriyas Yamsuf. Now, what does it say by Kriyas Yamsuf? That it says that Hashem brought a wind, Kol HaLayla, page Ayin Fes. Was Ayin 54? Not 54 yet.
That was the 29.
Okay. So it said we brought a raya from Kriyas Yamsuf. Now, what's the raya from Kriyas Yamsuf? That it says when Hashem split the sea, how did Hashem do it? That Hashem brought a wind, and the wind split in half. But it says that it was a ruach chadim azah Kol HaLayla, that it went the whole night. So why did Hashem need to do it the whole night? Hashem could have done it once. Hashem would have done it once, and then it could have. So last week we spoke about what I printed here, but that we say two things: kimon neid v'chayma. Somebody asked this the last time. Mike says twice. So the answer is that it says neid means that just all the water goes in like a bowl. Let's say you have water in a cup, seltzer in a cup. The water doesn't tip out, but nothing actually happened to the water. Nothing happened to the water, but in order for the water to change and for that to be a difference in the water, that's what it means kechomer, that it stood like a wall. That's what it says over here. If you want, you can look at it, but not sure if we're going to do it inside. We'll see. So that's the right from Kriyas Yamsuf. And we said that if Hashem would stop, if Hashem would stop making the miracle on the water, then Hashem would stop the wind, and it'll go back to being like it never was, and that's what happened after Kriyas Yamsuf. If you go there now, I don't think there's a split. Is there a split there? No, no split there. Because after Kriyas Yamsuf, it went back. So let's go from the words. We'll do a little bit inside. We're going to go back a little bit. Sorry, but we're going to go from Vahu Pelagadol. It's
Yeah. Page 27. The second.
So we brought fine. So we said this: Vahu Pelagadol Yosem Kriyas Yamsuf. That when Hashem created the world, it's a greater miracle than Kriyas Yamsuf. Al derech mashal. Obviously, Kriyas Yamsuf is not a mashal. Kriyas Yamsuf is a real thing, but we're bringing it here as a mashal. That Hashem brought a wind all night, and the water split. And it stood like a wall. And if Hashem would take away the wind, then it'll go back. Fine. So that's everything we said last week. We actually read the next two lines, but we're going to come back to it. So it's like this. Now, what's this line saying? It's saying like this. The way we see water, right? If you put water in a cup, it goes down to the bottom. And you look at the ocean, it flows around. But when Hashem created water, did Hashem create water in a way that water automatically flows? Or did Hashem create water and then after Hashem created water, he added something to it that it flows?
He created it should flow.
Why do you think so?
Because that's how it started to begin. I don't know.
That's the way we see it. But so Al-Jabbar is going to explain that Hashem created water, and then after Hashem created the water, he added a teva that it should flow. And that's what the Al-Jabbar says over here. So afsha teva hazeh b'mayim gam kein nivra, even though that we have the teva of water is also created. Besides the water, there's a teva that it has to flow. And the question is, so how do we know that? Why are we saying that it's the extra thing? Maybe really part of it. So Al-Jabbar says, you have a wall of stones, and a wall of stones stands by itself. Li ruach, without a wind, it's like this. Everything that we see, right? Everything created has a few gdarim, has a few characteristics, if that's the word.
Mm-hmm.
Right? For example, everything takes up space. Another thing that everything has is that it stands. It is. The only thing different is water. That's why that's right. So you can have you have a wall of stones and it stands, doesn't fall. So Al-Jabbar says it must be that this thing that water has is something that's added to it. That water itself Hashem created, and afterwards Hashem added a separate thing that it should flow. Mm-hmm. So if we're saying that, then we said it before that when Hashem created the world, it's Vahu Pelagadol Mikriyas Yamsuf. It's a greater thing than Hashem creating the world is greater than Kriyas Yamsuf. Why is it greater than Kriyas Yamsuf? Why is it greater than Kriyas Yamsuf? Because what did Hashem change by Kriyas Yamsuf? He didn't change the water itself. He changed something that he added to the water to make it stand like a wall. The water itself was still the same water. Hashem made it stand like a wall. But when Hashem created the world, what did Hashem do? Hashem changed the whole world, that Hashem created every single thing. Mm-hmm. So the fact that by Kriyas Yamsuf, we say that Hashem had to bring a wind the whole night to keep it going. Okay, if it's like that, then it must be when Hashem creates something greater by creating the world. But I'm sure Hashem has to be constantly giving a chayis in order that it lives, that it survives, that it exists. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, So far, everything's good. The only question is the other question the other way around. That is, what are we saying now? We're saying now you have Kriyas Yamsuf. What happened Kriyas Yamsuf? There was water. And in order for something to go against its nature, in order water normally flows. In order for something to go against its nature and needs to understand, Hashem had to bring it has to have constant change to it. For example, another example would be like a stone, right? If you throw a stone, the nature of a stone is to fall. So if you want it to fly, you have to throw it again and again and again. For something that goes against its nature, you have to keep giving it chayes that it should go. So we're trying to say that the same thing is when Hashem created the world, that in order for the world to exist, Hashem is to keep giving it chayes. There's only one problem with what we're saying now. What was before the world? Before the world, there was nothing. Hashem created the world, and now something exists. But there was nothing going against what there was. Before there was nothing, Hashem's creating something. There's nothing going against the going against. Whenever you go against, it's always harder. If you go against somebody, they always fight back. So it makes sense. If you're going against something, you have to keep giving a chayas. You have to keep it existing. But if you're not going against anything,
Why do you have to keep giving it?
so why does Hashem need to be constantly saying that? So remember, is to keep the world in existence. Maybe Hashem made once a big miracle, and since it's not going against anything, it was enough that Hashem created it once. So, okay, it's very. I hope I can explain this. I hope I understand it myself. It's like this.
It's very deep stuff.
Yeah. There's a derech that is called mechuyev hametzius. Mechuyev literally means you have a chiyuv to do a mitzvah. What does it mean that you have to do it? But it means here that there's some things that it is. That there's no reason, that there's no. Let's give an example. For example, 1 + 1, right? 1 + 1, you can't say 1 + 1 is true only by people. If you have one person and a second person, then it's true. But if you have $1 and another dollar, then it equals 3. So sometimes you go shopping, you have one thing and another thing, and somehow it equals more than $2. But in general, right, you have 1 + 1 is true every place, every time, every country, anywhere you go. We spoke about last week about the fact that a father has to be older than a son, right? That's the true thing. The way that the world runs, it's true in every place. Everything is totally true about it. Now, when we say that Hashem, so what does it mean? Everything created has certain darim, has certain boundaries. The only thing, there's two things that Hashem's created. There's gashmis and there's ruchnis. Ruchnis can also be more ruchnis, more like seichel, more like seichel. It doesn't only mean like ruchnis. So now the question is, when things exist, right? What's more in existence? Ruchnis thing or a gashmis thing?
Ruchnis.
Ruchnis? Why is a ruchnis thing more in existence?
Because the physical it's like the kli. It's not. It's like the guf and the neshama. When the neshama goes out, the guf is useless. Everything is.
Yeah. Okay, that's true. But what's something that's real is something that's true in every place. Yes? Does that make sense?
I hear.
So now let's take something gashmis, right? Let's say a table. If you have a little table and a big table, is a big table more true than a little table? It's the same thing. It's the same idea. The same thing is true. What? Okay. So something like gashmis is it's bound by certain things, which means that it's only true in certain places, only in where it is. And being that it's big or smaller doesn't make it more or less true. Now, ruchnius is a little bit different. Let's say a seichel, right? We said 1 + 1. But no one can tell you, even though it's more true in a certain sense, it's still not the absolute truthness, I guess. Because no one's going to tell you, why I can't understand it? Because I only have 5 fingers. But if I would have a 6th finger, then I'd be able to understand it. As in, even something you understand is always going to say as a seichel. It can never come into gashmius. Which means that even something which we see, which in the world is true, it's not the absolute truthness. That's the word.
Which means more than this. Yeah.
Yeah, because
there's levels we don't see.
Right. So what's the only thing that's true? The only thing that's actually true existence? The only true existence is Hashem. And for something to be created means that it's going to be going against that. Because nothing, second you're creating something, it's not a real existence because it's not true in every place. It's very, I'm not sure if I'm explaining, I'm not sure if I understand it fully myself, that's the truth. Makes a little bit of sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. It's deep, very deep.
So now, yeah, but take that as it is, yeah. I'm saying there's more to it and more to understand. But if that's true, right? So nothing really can exist because the only true thing is Hashem. Then that explains why Hashem, when Hashem's creating the world, he has to be giving a chayis every moment. Because really there's no place for it to exist. And the fact that it's existing is only because Hashem's giving a chayis. It's going against what we would think. Just like by we spoke last week by Kriyas Yamsuf, that in order for the world to exist, in order for Kriyas Yamsuf, Hashem had to be bringing a wind the whole night because of going against its nature. So too by Kriyas Olam, when Hashem created the world, he has to keep giving a chayis that it should exist. Because it's going against everything, going against its nature. Stam last week you mentioned about Kamoi Nei V'Choima. Right, so you can read it a little bit over there. I don't know. It's middle of 27. Yeah, there's a lot more to speak about this because the whole Kriyas Yamsuf, every example Alter Rebbe brings. We spoke out the first week that it says Alter Rebbe when he was writing Tanya that he spent I think 6 weeks about a certain vav. So every letter in Tanya is very exact. So every example that Alter Rebbe brings is also exact. We spoke about last week. We spoke about last week about why the Alter Rebbe doesn't bring an example from throwing a stone. That's what we spoke about last week. She said it's a similar idea because the stone falls. And we spoke about, but I don't want to go over it again because we spoke about it last week, but in short, that, should I say it? I'll say it again quickly. We spoke about last week, we had a question that the Alter Rebbe starts a parak with, it says, Bikan Shuvas HaMinim. This is an answer for the minim. And we had a question that seemingly would be much better to bring an example from throwing a stone, because the minim are people that don't believe in Torah, we said. So why would you bring an example from Torah about Kriyas Yamsuf? So we basically answered that this example from Kriyas Yamsuf was not for minim, it was really for us, for people that believe in Torah. And we said that we explained that something that's created yesh miyesh has to be recreated every moment. But how do we know that Hashem created the world in such a way? I'm saying it a bit short because we spoke about it last week. So we said that we see that the Hashem ran the world in such a way, so that by Kriyas Yamsuf, Hashem created the world in such a way, and so that's why we bring an example that's how Hashem created the world. Okay, let's continue up to in the middle of Parak Base. We just read till the Kol Shekain. Yeah, it says so. The Kol Shekain, the Kal V'Chomer, the Brias Yesh Me'ayin, Shehila Ma'il Mi'ateva V'Hepla V'Pela Yosim Kriyas Yamsuf. So alachas kama v'kama shebistalkos koyach habayir min hanivra chas v'shalom yoshev hanivra la'ayim v'epes mamish al tzarech liyus koyach hapoyel b'nifal tamid lachayusoy l'kanyim. So that was based on what we just said before, that in the water we spoke out earlier that there's two things in the water. There's the teva of water and the fact that water itself, what the water itself is. Hashem made a miracle in the teva, so kol shekain, when Hashem was creating the world, was a much greater miracle. Now that was the end of that part. That Brias Ha'ilam has to be constantly recreated. Now we're going to little sidetrack it. It says, in the first paragraph, we spoke about that Hashem is constantly creating the world through the Asar Mamaris. So it says, that it says that Hashem gives life to the world. So it's a klal. Whenever we say al tikri, don't read it. There's a way that the word's written in Torah, and there's a way that the word is read. So now we have such a thing that you can read it, and it's written in two different ways. So we say that they're both true. So the pasuk says, "V'ata mechayes kulan," that it gives chayes to everything, and it says, "Al tikri mechaye el mahave," that it's constantly creating. So va'ata hein bechinas ha'oisius me aleph ata. What's va'ata? Vav aleph saf hey. It's aleph, and it's all the letters from aleph till top. So what's hey? Hey is hey mutzas hapeh makar ha'oisius. There's it speaks out more later on Tanya, but there's five different. The words come from five different places in the mouth. There's aleph, ches, ayin, hey, which come from the throat, the guttural letters. Then you have base, mem, base, vav, mem, pei, vam, which are from the lips. Then you have gimel, yud, chaf, kuf, which is from the palate. I think that's the top of the mouth, palate of the mouth. And then you have dalit, tes, lamed, nun, tes, which is from the tongue. And then the last letter is zayin, samach, reishin, and tzadik are from the teeth. So we're saying that from all these things, from the aleph to top, the five letters, and the hey, which is sapeh, that's what these letters are coming. We say, obviously Hashem doesn't have a body. So when we say that Hashem, obviously we say that Hashem is obviously not speaking on these things. It says, Mikra Mali Tibar Kasu, Vaidaber Hashem. So when the Pasuk says, Vaidaber, Vayomer Hashem, so what does it mean? So it says, it's not that Hashem is saying them, He's just revealing them, just as by us, speech is what reveals something to somebody else. So when we say that Hashem spoke, Hashem, by Daber, Vayomer, both speaking, that it's just how Hashem revealed it to the Nevi'im. So just this tichla masakasam, then the Nevi'im could understand it. The Mara Hanavua, Bagam B'machshavtam, V'ziboram, and also in the thought and speech, Meshakos of Ruach Hashem, Diberbio Milasai al Shoni. That the Nevi'im said that Hashem is speaking through me. Meshakos of Arizal, B'shar Navua, like the Arizal said. Okay, let's do one more line. So the same way that the letters comes into creation. Devar Hashem Shemaim Nasu, V'ruach Piv Kol Tzava. Reakshi al yedei gestalshlus ribus vatzomis ad shiur des lastir gufnis, masha imkin hasagas neviim b'hi batzilus hamislabeshes fa'ilam abriya. Okay, I want to just take a pause here for 1 second. I want to go back to before. I want to go back to this because we spoke about it last week, and thank you. Okay. In 27, you saw it? You saw 27? You read it?
I don't understand it.
You don't understand? Okay, so let's go through it.
Not a clue.
Okay.
First of all, have the deviations.
Okay, a lot of it, okay, but a lot of it's very short.
I know that it's mahal.
So I don't know the whole secha, but I learned part of it. It's like this. This was really going back. Yeah, it's part of the sefas. Yeah. If you look at the bottom, there's not enough copies. You want to listen? Okay. This is really going back to what we spoke about before. Last week we ended up speaking about what we ended up last year about that it says from 27. So it's like this. Loshen Admar Zakin B'Shar Yichud Sham. Says yeah, it's 27 is going on over here.
All those items of the Shaar HaYichud.
Yeah.
Nitzvah Kamoy Nei VaHamunah. Just that line.
VaHamunah.
Nitzvah Kamoy. Oh, you're saying that's the abbreviation? Shaar HaYichud VaHamunah, yeah. Yeah.
So if it was the above, I would say, hey,
Okay, so Yesh Loimer, right? Shechidush Yesh Loimer, Shechidush Gadol Yesh Nebazeh. V'haktik. We're going to ask a question now. Chayra Kasha, the Betargum Pirish Rashi, V'oin, Ala Pasuk, Pirishok, Kamoy Nei Pichayma. Right, so that seems it's one thing. So the Alpizeh, Yisur Belashin, Loima Kamoy Nei Pichayma. So if it's the same thing, then it's a Yisur, it's an extra word. Why does it say Kamoy Nei Pichayma? If it's the same thing, it should just say one of it. Base. Vav Divichayma, my Mosif, whenever the word and is adding something. Right. But it has to be adding something. You don't just so the question is, why are you saying the same thing if they're both the same thing? So Gimel take it oimer veloy komo kechoyma ve'enu maskrinez. If you look in the Tanya,
Right, so
I think you mentioned it last week. Did you mention it last week?
yes. You see one place it does say name, one place it doesn't say.
Right. So the question is, the second time he doesn't mention it. So why the first time
Does he?
doesn't mention it?
We keep talking about that. Yes.
Right. So now, actually, not sure what this next Rosh this is. Yesh loymar for, I think yesh loymar pastors, maybe. I'm not sure. Yesh lafarish, maybe. Yesh lafarish.
Okay, sounds good.
Sounds better.
Huh?
Sounds
Yesh
better.
lafarish sounds better. Okay.
Listen, if you're having trouble with this, I don't feel so bad.
So like this. The kavanas admar zakin lahadgish. The pirush haksovin. Shazel basing on. There's two separate things. B'tchila, first nitzvu kamoneh. The first thing that happened is that it stood
Like a wall.
like a wall. What's what Rashi explains? What's nade? Sibur v'kinus. It's a place that everything just gathers. Rak bazeh hayashinui. Aval hayu noislam. That they were still noisel. They were still liquid. Al derech mayim bekli.
That's not work.
How does that work?
Yeah, if it's standing up straight, how do you have noisy?
I thought you were going to ask that. I thought you were going to ask where do you see the kli.
Okay.
I think just because it stood up straight, it doesn't mean that that wasn't wavy.
It's like in a keli.
Exactly, just like in a kli. You go like this. This isn't a kli. Noislam kamoneh.
Money noisy. The other way. Question
Question is how net can be net standing and the
It's
water
flowed like a
is not
wall. That in itself is a steering very big. Flowed like a wall. Wall doesn't flow.
So I think, yeah, but I think it's saying like this. You have a cup, right? I'm saying just because it's liquid inside, I'm saying just because it's in a cup, it doesn't mean it can't move. Just because it was standing up doesn't mean that the water wasn't. No.
No. The cash is better than terrace, but okay.
Okay, 1 second. So that's the first word. That's nate. So the achekach gam kechoyma. So what's the adding kechoyma? She'in skuka lekli.
It's dry.
Uh-huh.
No, not that it's
Doesn't
still
need to be dry.
this is
Nest, it is
exactly
stood
by
up
nest.
water.
It was a
What's
nest.
the cleat do? A fish tank. It's just standing up straight. Water's going up and down like a fish tank.
Yeah, like a fish tank.
The wall is the cleat.
Yeah, the wall is the kli.
Wall is the.
As in, it wasn't like I don't think it was a gashmi stick, a piece of plastic or something there, but there was. I think so. I think that's the kli. No, I think the fact that the wall was the kli, keeping it there. So the water didn't change. It was just like you pour from into here. Yeah. So the alpizeh yumta kahemshich. So I was like, "V'achakach gam techoyma shein skufa lekli," and that was the whole chiddush. We're going to say the alpizeh yumta kahemshich shayich VaHamunah ilu hayamayim choizim v'nigarim. That if it would go back and it would be bittul the nei noislim, or pshita shaya bittul hashinu delachaza. V'lo komo kachayma shinu godel yosez v'lachein zehu b'li safek. Okay, let's go back.
You got what he said?
I think so. What was the bigger chiddush? The bigger chiddush was the neid or the chayma part. The chayma part. The chayma was saying
It's more of a wall.
right.
It's stronger.
That
Bigger.
The neid is not mamish a miracle. As in, okay, the fact for water to stand like that.
Stationary.
Yeah.
Stationary water.
Chayma was saying is that there was a miracle that it changed, that it didn't even need a kli. That normally doesn't happen. You normally pour water.
Like a piece of ice.
Yeah, but it wasn't a piece of ice. Yeah. A
Okay.
piece of ice wouldn't be a miracle. That's all.
It was liquid.
It was liquid. It was liquid that stood without a kli. The only way that happened is a miracle.
How many miracles happen under now?
It's machlokes, no? There's in Haggadah. Rabbi Yosef Lily says 50 or something, and
Time.
yeah. The whole machlokes it says because whatever punishments Hashem brought is never going to happen again. So they're all trying to say more and more. I think
Whoever say more, it's more. Look at this, so many nisim. The one say 50, that's 50.
okay, but here
200 is different.
we're speaking about one miracle, the fact that the water. So the fact that we're saying here that the chayma means that the water changed. Instead of flowing like it regularly does, the water stood up. So let's go back for Alpizeh.
It means did not go according to the level that usually water go.
Yeah,
Did
exactly.
not go like this, went like this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So al pi zeh yumtak hahemshech b'shar yichur v'emunah. Based on this, we can understand what it continues on.
Yumtak usually is sweet.
Yeah, but like it works well. Yeah. Ve'ilu hulu. What's ve'ilu? So where was the resident Tanya? It's over. It's at the end of a second. Ve'ilu hifzik Hashem as haruach. We said, yeah, ve'ilu it says v'loy komu k'choyma. Skip the brackets. Skip the brackets a second. Ve'ilu hulu hayamayim choyzev in agarim v'loy komu k'choyma. That's words from the Tanya.
That's what Chayson in the garden, crawling and returning. The garden is like people.
Saying what's nigarim?
Very sexual.
And what's that? So let's now read about the brackets. So ve'ilu hayamayim choyzev in agarim. Bittul the neid noislin. Shita shayabotel hashinu shalachar. As in, what was the miracle? The miracle by Kriyas Yamsuf was the Chayma part. So if by Kriyas Yamsuf after the miracle of Chayma happened and everything went back, then automatically there's no noslin anymore. There's no noid anymore.
Was one choma or two choma?
I'm saying on both sides. On both sides. Okay, if it came at one time.
Start easy.
So that's why I think that it says it again, that it doesn't say need anymore. It just says that if we go back, ve'ilu hifzek Hashem asaruach karega v'mayim choyzim inigarim v'loy komu k'choyma. Because once the miracle that happened by Kriyas Yamsuf of the Chayma finished, then it all went back, and you don't need to say that it wasn't a need anymore. Yes, no, maybe. Yeah. Let's just read one more line over here. So the v'negeya pirish hakosuf hazeh l'tochen hamvur b'shar yichud v'emunah. The gam haseder to Kriyas Yamsuf. So let's just do that. Why is it negeya to the tochen of Shar yichud v'emunah? Because if it's just the node that there was water in a kli, that's not what we're trying to explain over here. We're trying to explain why everything. There has to be a chiddush in everything that exists, not just that you pour water and there's something that keeps it in existence, that something separate keeping it in existence. We're trying to explain how everything needs to be in the etzem thing itself. And that's why it's a much bigger raya from Choyma and not just from Neid.
Reminds the premise of bigger race.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means. No, because Neid is no miracle. As in, it's a little miracle. It's a small miracle. The fact that Mayim stayed like a Neid is a miracle.
Right.
But the fact that Choyma means that there was a change in the water itself.
Right. It's a greater miracle.
Yeah, greater miracle. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how does for why the first one says both and the second one says
Because I think if after it finished being like a Choyma that it went back, then went back to how water regularly is.
Skip this step. I didn't go backwards.
You're saying that maybe it still stays like a Neid.
From the bigger to the intermediary back to water. You're skipping the step. So why is that so more pressure for you? But I mean that's what you're saying. That's what
I was saying.
Why is that more pressure? Okay, we're on the same page now. Okay.
Maybe because we used to the water's going down all the time. That's what we used to.
No, but
No.
It's a good question. We have to sometimes read between the lines. Read it a few times, you start seeing words between the lines, and you can figure it out.
Who was it that had a Shaar? It was a chassid that was Mitchell of the cities. He gave a breath out. Shemaim, you get the aha. Ever heard that one? You get the aha. What happens when you get a shot all of a sudden? No,
I
yeah.
think
Think Shema, you get that.
the Tzemach Tzedek, I think, once came to Yechidus by the Alter Rebbe, and Alter Rebbe wanted to give him bracha for Limud HaTorah. Hold on 1 second. And he said no, because he said Limud HaTorah you have to work hard for. You can't just get it. So he said later he regretted it because no matter how hard he works, he would have got much more. So it's good we have a question. So now we have homework to do. We'll have to figure it out.
Die Moshe deine Pixte Jahre von Yeshua. You ist das Beginn of Mamshech Torah noch using.
Yeah, but still, you still have to. It's still a Yegia. I'm saying it doesn't. Yeah. Yeah. The story with I think Mendel Futterfass. Did I say it today?
Say no.
I said it already. Never mind.
Today?
Okay, I'll say it again.
Not today.
I think I did. I'll start it. Okay, I don't remember who was saying. Maybe you would. Maybe
Well, last week, maybe.
I thought. Okay, I'll say the story if you remember
Say it.
that. I said it today. That maybe you weren't here. I don't know who. I don't.
This
That-
year?
I'll say the story. Don't worry. Okay.
No worries.
Somebody came to Mendel Futterfass and he said he learned to this and everything seems the same. It's all Yichud Hashem, Bittul Olamai, Soyev Malay. Everything's the same words. So Mendel told him that when a child starts reading, right? That first, what does he see? He sees a lot of aleph base. That's all he sees. It says eventually he starts realizing that aleph base make up words, and then words make paragraphs, and paragraphs makes whatever, and then he gets ideas. He said the same thing. Sometimes you start learning, you think everything's the same, and you start learning it more and more, and you realize the differences. Or another answer, they say that maybe I don't know, it's two gersos that he said after you learn it enough time that it starts affecting you. Until it affects you, then it's whatever. That's the whole point of studies, that it affects you. So today we spoke a lot about Kriyas Yamsuf. We spoke about it in a way. If you just look at it simply, there's Kriyas Yamsuf, whatever. Alter Rebbe just puts it in. But there's a mila. In a way, we started saying that there's a mila of why B'rias Olam is much greater than Kriyas Yamsuf. We said that Kriyas Yamsuf, we said it just does a change in the teva of the mayim. Spoke about today that there's etzem of mayim and Hashem added a thing to mayim that it should flow. And Kriyas Yamsuf, that what changes just the teva mayim. And by B'rias Olam, Hashem changed the whole world. We also spoke today in a way that what would seemingly look like there's a chiddush of why, I don't know if it's a chiddush, but the world, when Hashem was by Kriyas Yamsuf, that there was something going against its nature, that we said, and by B'rias Olam, that was seemingly there was nothing Hashem was going against to create. It brought the whole thing about Mechuyev Mitziyas, and Hashem wasn't, that it doesn't make sense for the existence either, and we'll continue next week, Mr. Hashem.
Right. No,
No. Yeah, before you came, I guess.
No, we're finished Parak Beit. We're holding the beginning of Parak Gimel.
I didn't. This is the Choima and the Nade, yeah.
Right.
Yes, I didn't. Yeah, it could be. You're saying what answering about the.
You can go.
This is not even sure. You can look at the other Haras at the same time. How do you hit the Choyab? Is it closer to?
I gave it to you because to me it's all.
Ja, die zijn